Walk through the wealthiest neighborhood in your entire city and take a careful look at the cars sitting quietly in those driveways. Most of them are not at all what you would expect to see. They are paid off and 8 or 10 years old, and nothing about any of them looks shiny or flashy in any kind of way. The new luxury SUVs and the least premium sedans actually live a few zip codes over in the neighborhood that only looks successful from the outside. There is a very specific reason for that, and once you actually see it for yourself, you can never unsee what is quietly happening to your own paycheck every single month of every single year of your working life. You probably already feel something starting to tighten somewhere in your chest right now, because the rule that the quietly wealthy actually live by is to spend roughly 40 cents of every single dollar that comes home with them. And right now, you are trying to live on 100 cents of every single dollar that lands in your account. Groceries have somehow doubled in price over the last 3 years for almost no clear reason at all. Rent ate the entire raise that you fought so hard to get back in March. The student loan payment came back online and it never really went away again. There was a medical bill sitting somewhere in your kitchen drawer that you still have not opened all these months later. 40% honestly sounds like math from a completely different planet. And nobody around you actually talks about any of this, honestly. Your coworkers post the bright vacation photos, and they always skip the credit card statement that quietly paid for them. The entire culture around money in this country is carefully rigged to make spending visible and saving completely invisible, which is exactly why the rule that the wealthy actually use feels so foreign and so strange the first time you finally hear someone say it out loud in a video like the one you're watching right now. But here's what almost nobody ever bothers to tell you. The people who actually do this every single day of their lives are not earning what you think they're earning. A surprising number of them earn quite a bit less money than you do right now. The whole trick was never about the income at all. It was always about a single quiet ratio. And that ratio bends the entire shape of a life in a way that almost no personal finance video on this entire platform will ever explain to you in plain everyday English. So stay with me here for the next few minutes. This part gets very specific very fast. Here's the picture that nobody ever bothers to draw for you. Most mainstream financial advice tells you to live on 90 cents of every dollar and to save the other 10 cents quietly for later. Do that one thing for an entire 40-year career and you will retire at 65 or maybe 70 years old with just barely enough money saved to keep the lights on inside your home. That is not actually a freedom plan in any meaningful sense of the word at all. That's just a permission slip to keep on working until your knees finally give out on you. Now flip the entire math the other way around and watch what quietly happens. Save 60 cents of every dollar instead of saving the usual 10 cents, and the timeline does not just shrink a little, the whole thing collapses in on itself almost violently. About 50 straight years of work becomes about 12 and a half years of work. Same person and same job and same paycheck. The only thing that ever changed is the ratio. Why does it bend that hard? Because every single dollar that you do not spend is quietly doing two jobs at exactly the same time. It is building up your pile of savings every single month, and it is also lowering the size of the entire life that pile has to support forever afterwards. Someone who needs only $30,000 a year to live comfortably needs about $750,000 saved up to be free forever. Someone who needs $80,000 a year to live needs over $2 million saved up. Same exact freedom for both of them, wildly different bill at the very end. To make all of this concrete inside your head, take a household that is earning $75,000 every year after taxes. At a 10% savings rate, they would put away about $600 every single month. After 12 straight years inside a boring index fund, that comes out to roughly $140,000 total. That is not nothing, but it is also nothing close to actual freedom. Same household and same income, only with a 60% savings ratio, puts away $45,000 every single year. After the same exact 12-year stretch, that pile is closer to $800,000. The compounding is identical. The income is identical. The only thing that ever changed was what crossed the line into the future column. This is exactly why a quiet school teacher who drives a paid off Corolla and packs a lunch every single morning can retire at the age of 45, and why a marketing director who is making 3 times as much money cannot retire at 65. The director is not bad with money. The director is just paying for the entire lifestyle that the bigger income silently demands. The teacher unhooked from that whole loop a very long time ago and never once looked back. And what does the actual daily life of that teacher look like from the outside? Almost identical to everyone else. A house that fits comfortably and not a house that impresses the neighbors. A car that runs reliably and not a car that announces anything to the street. A vacation once a year and not 4 big trips a year. The same 15 pieces of clothing rotated for an entire decade. There is no martyrdom in any of it anywhere. There is just a quiet absence of the constant low-grade upgrading that drains the people in the next zip code over. The wealthy are not depriving themselves of anything. They have simply stopped buying things designed to be replaced in 18 months. That single shift in mindset is half of the entire ratio right there. The other half is what they do with the money that does not go into that endless upgrade loop, which is the part that nobody around them ever sees, because by definition, it is invisible. And here's the part of all this that should make you a little bit angry. A man named Ronald Read lived quietly in Vermont and died in 2014 at the age of 92. His estate turned out to be worth nearly $8 million. He had worked as a gas station attendant for 25 years. After that, he worked another 17 years as a part-time janitor at a J.C. Penney store. He wore worn flannel shirts every single day. He fixed the holes in his old jacket with safety pins so he would not have to buy a new one. He drove a used Toyota that he had bought secondhand, and he always parked in the free non-metered spaces because the metered ones cost extra. A patron at his local diner once quietly paid for his breakfast because they assumed from looking at him that he could not afford the meal. He did not have a hot stock tip. He did not time the market. He did not get lucky on a single big bet. He just lived on a small fraction of what came in for 60 straight years and held boring dividend-paying stocks for decades. He was not rich because he was lucky. He was rich because he was completely invisible. If that one story about Ronald Read just cracked something open inside you, then you are not alone in feeling that way. That is exactly the kind of story this entire channel exists to tell. Subscribing keeps these in your feed. Here is your next move in simple form. Step 1 is to find your real ratio. Pull the last 3 months of your income and the last 3 months of your spending. Divide what is left over by what came in. That number is usually somewhere between 5 and 15% for most households. That number is your starting line and not your verdict. It is just information and not a personal grade. Write it down somewhere your eyes will find it again tomorrow. The number gets a little less scary the moment that it stops being a secret. Step 2 is to freeze your entire lifestyle at the level it sits at today. This is the secret weapon that almost nobody ever talks about out loud. When the next raise comes through, send all of it directly to a separate investment account before it ever touches your checking account. Do the same with the tax refund. Do the same with the work bonus. Do the same with the side gig money that comes in. Your life today already works just fine. The next dollar that arrives just gets a different job to do, and you never miss what never landed in your spending account in the first place. 5 years of holding the line on lifestyle while your income grows can take you from a 10% saver to a 40% saver without a single sacrifice you can actually feel. Step 3 is to attack the big 3 categories instead of the lattes. Forget about the daily coffee. Roughly 2/3 of every dollar that the average household spends goes into just 3 categories. Those are housing and transportation and food eaten outside your kitchen. Drop your housing cost by even 20% through moving or refinancing or finding a roommate, and you have done more for your future in a single afternoon than 5 years of cutting grocery coupons. Drive a paid off used car for 2 extra years instead of trading it in. Cook 3 more dinners at home every week. The boring categories are where the real money quietly hides. The small categories are where the personal finance industry tells you to look so that you stay distracted from the rest. Step 4 is to automate the boring portfolio. You do not need to pick stocks. You do not need a financial guy in a suit. Set up an automatic transfer that goes into a low cost, broad market index fund. That is just a single fund that owns small slices of hundreds of different companies for about $3 a year per 10,000 invested. Then walk away from it for years. The wealthy stay wealthy by doing less and not by doing more. Constant activity is expensive. Quiet patience is free. The automation is the entire game because it removes the only person who can ever talk you out of the plan, which is you. Step 5 is to track the ratio and not the balance. Your account balance will lie to you in the down years. The ratio will not. If you saved 40% of your income in a year that the market dropped 20%, then you are still winning, even if the screen says otherwise. The ratio is the one number that proves you were getting free in slow motion, long before the balance ever figures it out. Check the ratio once a quarter. Cheer for the ratio. Ignore the headlines. Here is what I want you to take with you. You are not behind because you are bad with money. You were behind because the rules of the game were written to make you spend everything you earn and then a little more on credit just to keep the wheel turning. Nobody handed you the other version of the rules, the version where 40 cents of every dollar can quietly buy back the next 30 years of your life. The action for today is small. Open one tab or one calculator or one piece of paper. Write down what your real savings ratio was last month. Just the number. No plan and no shame and no spreadsheet and no goal. Just the number written down somewhere your eyes will find it again tomorrow. Tomorrow you can decide what to do with it, but you cannot change a number you have never written down. If something here gave you words for what you've been feeling for years, then hit subscribe. There's a whole channel of these, and the next one is in the works. You cannot fix what you refuse to look at.